Are you ready for this?
I've been born ready.
So what is going on, everybody? This is King Friday here. I'm actually not Nick. I'm not bald. I don't have glasses, but I still hopefully have a really fun demeanor. But this is Airplane Mode. This is Techsplanation Airplane Mode, and I am here. Today it's gonna be a good day. My favorite topic, one of my favorite topics, digital signage. But maybe in a way that you haven't heard about it or talked about it before. We're not going to be getting super heavy, deep and real into the nitty gritty of the technical aspects of any one digital signage player today. We're going to be talking about turning digital signage into a revenue stream that you might in a way that you might not automatically think about it. When, specifically for our resellers, when they sell digital signage players, sometimes it can just end with, it's like, here's the box, here you go. And the conversation can potentially end there, but we're actually going to talk about a little bit more than that today. So I am here joined by an amazing guest from BrightSign. We've got Daniel Borches from BrightSign. Say hello, Daniel.
How's it going? Yeah, I actually have more hair than Nick as well, but usually I guess more hair equates to less knowledge. No. So we'll go with that. That's why we're not getting technical today, because I have more hair than Nick.
That's amazing.
Let's just go with that.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I think it's going to be a really fun conversation today. I think there's a lot that we can cover, but I don't think it needs to take that long, actually, because it really is talking about resellers. How can you turn digital signage players into a potential revenue stream to where you're actually selling the digital signage itself, whether that be the management or the actual design or some combination of both. So before you tune out and say, no, that's not something that I can do, that's not something that, my specific organization does right now. It's just that, not something that you do right now. So Daniel, you are in this quite a bit. You talk to resellers a lot about this type of thing. Tell people a little bit about how it's a possibility that they might be able to get into this. Are there, is there a specific reseller, sort of persona that comes to mind for you when it comes to the types of resellers that can sort of jump into digital signage management and creation?
Yeah, it really comes down to what the reseller wants to do, how much you want to be involved versus how much you want to just sort of sell a solution and move on. I think you have the option to dive in however you want. We'll talk a little bit about having the option of using what BrightSign offers, which is our own free software called BrightAuthor Connected that allows you to author your content and lay it out and publish it to a player, or using third-party solutions that are paid solutions that these companies and software companies, they sell their solution and therefore support it a little bit differently than we support our software. And it gives you the option to sort of attack it from multiple aspects. You can, to your point, sell a box, give it to the customer and move on and never talk to them again about it. Or it's something you can actually sort of learn and understand and weapon create another revenue stream for you, whether that's managing the devices or helping with content creation, content management, and things like that. And there's just different avenues you can take, but it's open to what you want to do, how much you want to be involved or how little you want to be involved.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I think that's the key with this entire conversation is it's like, I think some people might say that it's like, okay, well, I don't have a graphic designer, that would be dedicated to this. I don't have a videographer that would be dedicated to this. I don't have, a full editing and production staff to be able to do all that. I think once you're done listening to this podcast, you'll see that there are lots of different avenues to potentially be able to get into creating or managing digital signage that doesn't take a massive team. And I think that BrightSign is sort of at the forefront of allowing people that may not be experts in the creation and management of digital signage. They've provided tools, many of them free, to be able to actually dive into this. So I think that's the main crux of our conversation today. So I think we need to go to the slides here because this is a really good conversation. All right, so we're here over here at the slide deck. I just want to show a couple of these here, and I want to start with this question, because I think this is sort of the main question here is it possible to manage signage with zero experience? Like from what you've seen in the industry, Daniel, what do you think? Is it possible to do that?
Absolutely, 100%. When it comes down to it, it's everything in sales is involving questions, right? And asking the right questions to get to a point where you can put a solution together for your customer and then provide that solution, properly and adequately. And so when it comes down to signage, it's the same thing. You're asking some basic questions to understand, what kind of experience you're trying to create, and who's going to manage this experience, going forward, right? So, and that those couple basic questions can get to a point to understand, okay, what kind of solution should I provide? Should I use what BrightSign has to offer in terms of hardware and software, or should I be using a BrightSign box with a third-party CMS option that is more of a, an holding experience for their customer? And then in determining that will allow you to go on a path of, okay, so my customer, they want an easy to use solution. They have a non-technical person that's going to manage this content after the fact. So maybe using the BrightAuthor connected software isn't the right solution. We want to go with a third-party company. For example, JB&A offers a solution called Now Signage. Now Signage is a very easy to use solution for people who are non-technical, very much a drag and drop, click boxes, make changes, things like that. So when you have a non-technical user, you can offer them a BrightSign player with a Now Signage software, and that solution together allows you to sort of sell its solution and then move on. And then that customer can manage that from there, right? So it gives you the option to dip your toe into signage without having to be an expert.
Right.
And obviously the experts at JB&A and at BrightSign, we can help navigate that landscape to determine, what solutions would be best for what applications. Asking the questions is the first part. Then once you get that data, you want to come back and we can talk about it and figure out what directions we can go.
Right. And I think that's one thing that really needs, I think you hit the nail on the head there, is asking questions. So we actually were later in the deck, we have a couple of questions that you should sort of always be thinking about in the back of your head of, is this potential client, or maybe an existing client, are they a candidate? Like, where in the chain are they a candidate for digital signage, specifically stuff that you can manage yourself as a reseller to say, oh, we're managing this, something that you can hand off to them to say, you're going to manage it on your own as a client, or neither of us are going to manage it. We're going to hand it off to a third party to be able to do the creation and the management and all that kind of stuff. That's sort of the main thing, is always asking, the relevant questions to sort of see where they fit in the box of digital signage. So I want to talk
again. What you may find too is that, you have customers that, as much as you may want to take control of the situation and manage things for them, they just want to manage it on their own because they have a team of people that does these things internally. Or conversely, you find that all of your customers, they don't have a clue what they're doing and they want your assistance. So again, the answers to those questions could shape your strategy going forward.
Guaranteed. And I think that it's similar to most things. And I mean, at JB&A, we do a lot of stuff on, when it comes to broadcast, it's like we have some clients that they are full production houses. They have a whole team of people. It's like, hey, we know the cameras we want, we know the lighting we want, we know the networking we want, just sell it to us. We will handle it from there. Other people, it's like, we want to be completely hands-free. We don't want to touch the technology. We don't even want to see it in the room. We just want whatever our outcome is, whatever that content deliverable. That's all we care about. And the same thing happens with digital signage. Some people really want to be, in the weeds with it. Other people want it to be a little more hands off. But that's where I think I want to get to this, is that BrightAuthor is a great way for anybody who has a BrightSign player to be able to get into digital signage. So Daniel, why don't you tell us just a little bit about BrightAuthor? I've dived into it, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, so it's a software that allows you to author your content. Essentially, it's not a content creation tool; it's a content authoring tool. It allows you to lay out your content how you'd like, set it up to schedule and things like that, and then allows you to publish it to the player. It is a free tool. It does a ton of different things. It's a super powerful tool. It is a free software, and therefore we support it that way in terms of any sort of training and assistance with that software is online tutorials and videos and webinars, and depending on the customer and the solution looking to put together, BrightAuthor could be the perfect fit for them. And in some cases, it might not be, and it might be looking at other third-party solutions as well. But again, at the end of the day, this is a free solution. I encourage people that they're not sure if it's going to be something that's going to work for them, they can download it right now and test it out and see how it goes for them. If they're comfortable in the tool, if they feel like it is adequate for their project and their needs, or if they just feel like they need something different, it's perfectly fine. Absolutely. I always recommend that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And you're right. Yeah, this isn't necessarily a content creation tool to where you're going to be designing everything within it. There's a little bit of that within BrightAuthor, but by and large, it's going to be your layouts of the pre-existing content that you're putting in, and then how it appears on the screen, when it appears on the screen, and then scheduled out to which screens is it going to appear on in the first place. But to be able to offer that as something that can be deployed and also to clients, to say that it's like, hey, even if you train some of your engineers, like if you're a reseller that has an engineering team or has some more technically minded people on the staff that might be able to dive into BrightAuthor, you can say that it's like, okay, so we're going to give you the BrightSign player. We're also going to teach you how to use BrightAuthor. And then, but the cool thing is that BrightSign already has a lot of training materials on their website. Am I correct? To learn how to use BrightAuthor effectively?
That's correct. Yeah. So we have what we call BrightSign Academy, which is a modular training course that covers all the basics up to some complex solutions within BrightAuthor Connected. We also sell training by the hour, and that is something that is sellable for the JB&A resellers as well. They can actually sell it to their customers as well. So again, a situation where a customer wants to use BrightAuthor Connected software, but they don't know how to use it. The reseller, if they don't want to be involved, they can just sell an hour of training, and that customer, they can come to us to schedule that training, and we'll give them the basics, the run through, and the 101 type stuff. But again, to your point of weaponizing this software, right? So taking this free solution, right, that we offer, and you as an integrator deciding, I'm going to take ownership of these projects and help my customers and guide them through the process, and in turn, I can charge for my time. I always
guaranteed.
I always look at the example of a fairly popular control device company in the industry that used to, and I think still does, require that an integrator have a programmer on staff to be able to implement these solutions. And so if you look at it from that perspective, if you've got somebody on staff that's an expert in this free software, and you're charging for hours of time to be able to set it up and get it running, and then assist in the management of it as well, that's another whole revenue stream for you based on a free solution. And the more that you use it, the more comfortable you get with it, and then the easier that becomes. So maybe an hour of work prior eventually becomes a 10-minute thing, but you're still charging for hours of your time because obviously it's based on the services that you offer.
Yeah, it's a win-win for everybody in that case. That it's like and as you're scaling, it's like you may bring people on that it's like, hey, knowing BrightAuthor is just part of the job description, and it's like as you go, it's like, but it's a win-win for everybody. It's that you sold the BrightSign player. You're using BrightAuthor, you are making money, either teaching somebody how to use BrightAuthor or, utilizing it yourself. And they're actually, speaking of that, there are actually a couple of flavors of BrightSign, well, not of BrightAuthor, but there are lots of different tools here that allow you to be able to do authoring, content management, and scheduling, sort of at a tiered sort of fashion. So BrightAuthor, obviously, that we've talked about, BrightAuthor Connected, that's the free version that anybody can download and use and deploy to manage their digital signage through BrightSign. But then there's Control Cloud. So if I'm correct, so Control Cloud is sort of the free tier authoring of BSN Cloud, wouldn't you say, Daniel?
Yeah, so it's important to understand too that everything here is all in the same UI, right? So there's no different places to go to have to figure things out.
That's right.
So BrightAuthor Connected is the software that we talked about that's free, that you use to author your content and publish to the player. Control Cloud it lives on the software, and it is a device management tool, right? It's also free with every player. So you basically add your players into your network, and you have access to player health. Green is good, red is bad type of thing, right? But you also have the ability to dive into that player and sort of see what's going on. You can do real-time snapshots. You can do remote reboots and restarts. The other thing that we'll talk about a little bit later is the fact that you can actually provision devices remotely with Control Cloud as well. So if, for example, you're using BrightAuthor Connected as a software and you're just not, that the solution isn't working out, you want to change what a device is using. So I want to switch to now signage. I can actually go into Control Cloud, create a provisioning file, and send that to the player, and it'll actually reboot and come up. When it comes back up, it comes out as a now signage player, essentially. So again, it gives you the ability to do a lot of things that normally you have to roll a chart for, that you can actually do remotely, which is great. And then obviously moving up to the BSN.Cloud Content Cloud portion, that's your paid service. It's the $99 per year per player MSRP. And that allows you to manage content in the cloud. You can make changes from that content anywhere. There's some other additional features like grouping and things like that you can do with that paid service. But again, that gives you the ability to manage your content in the cloud. And I can be here in Florida and I can change a player that's in California, I can change the content from here. So again, that's sort of the basic layout of what we have in terms of solutions that we offer.
Yeah. It's a massive amount. And I think it's really cool that BrightSign is sort of thinking ahead to, I mean, like we've been talking about, this whole conversation is sort of around, is this potentially, like, are there more revenue streams than you might realize in the way of digital signage for resellers? And it's like, yes, there are, and they're giving those tools away in certain situations. I mean, yes, obviously there's the paid version of BSN Cloud, but they're giving these tools away to be able to get familiar with them, to be able to use, to utilize them at whatever level you feel is necessary. That even if you just, said to your clients that it's like, and we'll also just manage the installation of whatever signage platform you decide to use. It's like even just with that, you talk about the ease of use of being able to deliver if whatever third party isn't working out at the time, being able to say, oh, we can log into that, we can change it out for now signage or whatever it happens to be. That's a really valuable tool to be able to offer people. And that, again, that's a service, just like everything else. And I think that comes to our next slide here, is that you can sort of choose between management, scheduling, and design, or management and scheduling, design, or both. So you can drive in as much as you want to into digital signage as a reseller. So, depending on whatever your current level is of expertise in digital signage, or, your capabilities, from a design standpoint, you can do that with this, but the main thing to think about is that each player is within itself a potential additional revenue stream, not just from the player itself. So I would say if you come away from this conversation for anything, is that stop thinking about BrightSign as just the BrightSign box and I sold it, I'm done. And I'm automatically washing my hands to a third party. It doesn't have to be like that in every situation. So I want to get into the list here of the types of clients that you should probably think about if you're first starting this as a reseller, of moving into managing digital signage, potentially creating digital signage, deploying it. But before we get into it, Daniel, can you talk about either some of the resellers or some of those potential clients that it makes the most sense to start with, if a reseller was just getting into doing the management or the creation of the software, or of the signage?
You mean in terms of that they're using our software as a tool to sort of sell a service? Is that what you're?
Yeah. If I'm a reseller that has so far only really just sold the box, but I want to get more into management, or maybe I want to get into creation, is there a certain client that I should be looking for, in that regard, instead of just automatically somebody that I'm just going to push to a third party designer? Like, are there some needs that I need to look for? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think, generally looking for, customers who are potentially looking to scale a solution, customers who have maybe multiple people that are going to be touching this and managing this solution as well. That definitely lends towards a challenge of having to educate multiple people across multiple parts of the organization to then have to, everyone has to know how to manage this one particular solution, and not having a one person to go to manage all this, it creates a challenge, right? So that situation where you can take on that responsibility to be able to manage, educate people who are going to manage the tool, maybe even do some of the management yourself and be a part of that process as well. Those are the customers who are, to your point, maybe have a limited technical knowledge. I always use an example of like a hotel, right? Mm-hmm. And they have a front desk person who's going to be updating the content for their signage in the lobby, right? Like who's coming in that day, what events are going on, right? So that person's not necessarily, I wouldn't assume they'd be highly technical and be able to jump into a software and understand it and learn it, from scratch. But maybe that's something that an integrator could manage for them and say, look, we'll do this for this fee, we'll manage this content for you. You just need to send us what needs to be put in, and we'll take care of that for you guys. So opportunities where, you know, customers are just looking to get content up and they don't want to be a part of the process to manage it or keep up with it or update it or things like that. You know, those are opportunities where you can, as a reseller, take on that responsibility and of course charge for your time to do that.
Guaranteed. And I think you hit the nail right on the head with that. And you know, whereas that might not be every client. I think there are lots of them that similar story of, it's like there's one person that's going to be, you know, that's, you know, sort of going to be managing this. You know, maybe they have the creation aspect, like they can design, you know, either whether they're, you know, just still images or if they're video, it's like they can design that type of thing. But it's like the ins and outs of a digital signage player and the scheduling and which player where, that might be a little more complicated for them. It's like, but that could be something that you can step in, like you said, and say, hey, that's something that we can help with. And you're dealing with the same people that you dealt with from the sale all the way to the deployed, finished, you know, product of that sign in the hotel lobby, which is amazing. But I think
and you think about that from this perspective. You think about the fact that, you know, you have multiple departments in an organization that might be having their hands in this, right?
Yeah.
So you've got, from a content perspective, you got the marketing group, right? From having a device on a network, you have an IT group that's going to be handling or managing players as well. And so you've got multiple parts of the organization that are all kind of jumping in and being a part of this solution. And so understanding who it is who's going to be owning that solution, you know, is it IT? Because then your thought process will be different than if it's the marketing group, right? Because they're looking at creative. They're not worried about how the content actually technically gets to the player. They just want to create great content that shows up on the screen. So again, it just depends on who's working with the solution, who's managing it in terms of how you attack that.
I agree. Absolutely. And I think too, there are some clients that, you know, and BrightSign still services these clients, obviously, but there are some clients that it makes more sense to push them towards a third-party solution when you're first starting out. You know, when you're first starting to offer these services, where, you know, it may not be as much. They may still say, it's like we still want to help with, you know, with Control Cloud. We want to make sure that, you know, the integration of our third-party solution is always going to be running. It's always working. We want to make sure that all of our players are on it, you know, when they should be on, and all that type of thing. But we don't necessarily need help with the deployment of and scheduling of the content. And you know, but there are some clients that they want really, really complicated signage. You know, we talked about a few of those things, you know, in the pre-show, just sort of that there are some clients that they want some really crazy integrations. You know, it's like, oh, and I want there to be this pressure sensor, and, you know, it's like if somebody walks up, I wanted to like take a body scan, and I want to put that on. This is like, there's a lot that, you know, could potentially go into it. And it's like, and scheduling out and programming out that content, you know, specifically within BrightAuthor might not, you know, it just may not be possible depending on what it is that they're doing, even though it's fully featured. You know, but then there are also some that have, you know, they already have an existing, existing third-party solution. They're just coming to you for the BrightSign players themselves. They love the players because they're reliable and they're high powered, but they don't need your help in the way of the management of the scheduling and the deployment of the digital signage. And there's some, like we talked about before, that it's like some that want to do the entire thing from soup to nuts by themselves on their own. That it may not be a complicated solution, you know, or digital signage application that they want to do, but they just want to do all of it by themselves. They don't want to be dependent on another company, you know, to do that. And that's fine. It's like, you know, to each their own. But BrightSign, the cool part about it is that BrightSign still fits with all of those, you know, all of those different types of clients. There really aren't any sort of, in my opinion, there aren't any digital signage applications or clients that it's just like, yeah, we can't use these products. It's like there are too many on the board in BrightSign that do too many things and are versatile, you know, that I think everybody can sort of find their niche when it comes to using BrightSign.
Well, I think too, just to back up for a second, Jordan,
yeah.
I think, you know, you hit on the versatility thing that you just mentioned. I think is a key point, right?
Yeah.
And some of the, you know, there's a lot of reasons as to why you would use BrightSign in these solutions. So I think one of the big things that we're talking about here is the flexibility of software, right? So what we probably could have gone into a little bit deeper at first is the fact that the great thing about BrightSign is that, we do offer a free software, but you're not locked into that solution, right? You have all these other third-party options, software that works on our player as well to make sure that you have the right solution for your customer, right? So to that point, you have situations where customers are already working with a software company that they're comfortable with and they like, and putting BrightSign players into their solution is seamless for them, right? And in other situations, you're not trapped into, BrightAuthor Connected is an amazing tool and it does a ton of stuff and it can do some highly complex things as well. But it's not always the right solution, and we know that. That's why we created the solution, in our hardware that had open APIs, allows us to work with these other CMS partners, because we know that at some point being locked into just one solution is not going to work, and that having options from a third-party CMS perspective is what it's all about. Whether you've got somebody who's looking for a complex wayfinding scenario, or room scheduling solutions or things like that. A lot of these CMS partners, they specialize in some of these categories, and it makes it easier put the right solution together for your customer and not just give them whatever you have, which is, here's my player and a free software. You got to figure it out. You have the option. That's the key, to all of this, really.
Mm-hmm. And I love that. I think there are, there can be some manufacturers in the Pro AV space that they really want to lock you in fully to their solution for everything, their software, their hardware, their ecosystem. It's lock. And it's difficult sometimes to integrate that into a greater workflow, because now I'm having to work in the confines of this specific software, this hardware, and I can't escape it. But that's one of the things that I love about BrightSign, and I'm not just sort of blowing smoke. I like the fact that BrightSign realizes that it's like, digital signage is a massive world. There are so many ways that you can integrate different kinds of cool digital signage, and it's like, and not everything is all things to all people in all situations, but they offer the tools that do a lot. They realize that there are other people that specialize in things, and they open a door for that. They open an avenue for that potential. So I think I really appreciate that about BrightSign and the way that they do business. So as we close here, I just want to hit 3 sort of questions or things to consider. And I would love your thoughts on these, Daniel, for any reseller when they're potentially selling their own either digital signage services, fully, or digital signage management, scheduling, whatever that looks like to you. A couple of things that you should consider. So does the client, with any client, does the client already have an existing signage platform? And if so, is it serving their needs? So is that current, if you ask them, it's like, hey, are they giving you everything that you need out of the gate? Some might say, yep, it's amazing, it's perfect. Others might say, well, we don't really use a lot of the things that they are, that they're actually wanting us to, to utilize on, on a third-party solution. It's like, you don't know where they are with it, but, but you might be surprised at what they say. Does your existing relationship with clients, with that specific client, position you as a more trusted provider of digital signage compared to a third-party option? And it's like, and not always, but it's like, if you have a client that it's like, I've worked with this client for, 15 years, and, they trust me, they know me, and they'd be willing to allow me to be able to do their management of signage. That's all the better for you. And then, are there any pain points to the client's digital signage that you might be able to solve? So if they say, well, we just, a lot of our displays are, the signage is outdated because nobody's scheduling. It's like, or we can't get them to, to answer back, the specific company, whatever it is. It's like, we call them and they want to answer back, or, we have the specific thing that we want to do with digital signage that they don't really seem to help with, or they don't want to help with. And it's like, again, that's a potential for you to be able to swoop in and say, oh, that's something that we can do with BrightSign, with BrightAuthor, with BSN Cloud, with Control Cloud, whatever it happens to be. And Daniel, I'd love to know, did we miss anything here? Are there any other things that people should consider when talking to clients about their digital signage needs?
I think these are the core things that we talk about in terms of, understanding what their goals are, what they're trying to accomplish. To your point, are they using something that is over accomplishing or under accomplishing what their goals are, and how do we adjust for that? There's a lot of opportunity for BrightSign recently that is in the category of what we call rip and replace, where someone went with a solution that they thought was good enough, but they were sort of trapped into what they had, and it wasn't working, and they had to literally rip hardware out, and had no solution, had to go and put in a BrightSign solution, which gives them the flexibility now to go and either use our software or use a third-party software. And if they decide again to that point midway through that it's just not working out for them, they have the option to change software, and they can do that remotely where they don't have to actually touch the player, in some cases. So again, I think those are sort of the core things that we talk about, in terms of trying to address signage needs and, making sure that you're attacking it, again, what's best for you and for your client, right? It's something that you can either position what BrightSign has to offer and what you as an integrator have to offer together, or you can offer the BrightSign solution with a third-party CMS and what they offer as well, and then just sort of sell that solution and move on down the road. It is your choice to attack it how you see fit.
I agree, and I think that's the main sort of thing, is that it's the way that BrightSign does digital signage is that they are opening it up to all possible avenues of attack, as you said, and sort of has a solution for everybody, not just the clients, but the resellers, the integrators as well. That everybody wins. Really, when you look at it, when you look at BrightSign, everybody sort of wins when you integrate one of their players, or hopefully many of their players, into whatever workflow it is. And it's like everybody wins with it, which is great. Can't say that for everybody. You can't say that for every digital signage player. Others, like we said, they want to lock you down. It's like, but that's just not how BrightSign sees it, and that's what I really appreciate. So
well, I'm a little biased, because I have this thing on, so I kind of have to be that way. But yeah, that's absolutely the case. I mean, in terms of the flexibility and the ability to sort of put together the right solution, we love it when just the hardware sale and a third party software gets involved. We have great partnerships with all these CMS companies. We have people in house that their sole job is to work with these companies to make sure that our hardware is always working with their software. When we have new players come out, we ship them players to make sure that they're testing them, that they work, that they're fully functional, everything goes off flawlessly. And we have constant conversations with them about what they're working on, so we can then sort of continue to build a product that supports their software as well. So it's a constant partnership with those folks to make sure that, again, you guys as integrators can continue to put the proper solutions in front of your customers and not have to be concerned with something not working properly. That's what we do. So there's definitely a sort of a synergy that goes on between us and these CMS partners, and it's important what we do. It's a huge part of what we do, because again, we want to make sure the customer gets what they need and not just what we're offering.
Absolutely. Daniel, thank you so much for a great conversation. I think I think this was very valuable to everybody on the reseller integrator side, that this is sort of an eye-opening way that it's like, hey, maybe, and I hope everybody is as excited as I am, is like, this is an opportunity to be able to, to generate new revenue streams, to be able to solve more customer problems. That's why I feel like we're all in this industry, is to solve problems and to create those workflows. And BrightSign's at the forefront of that when it comes to digital signage. So thank you so much for coming out. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, if you want to get into digital signage yourself, if you want to get into BrightSign, if you want to learn more about BrightSign, contact the fine folks here at JB&A. We would be happy to help you, but then also contact fine folks like Daniel over at BrightSign. They can also help you as well and get you set up when it comes to BrightSign. So this has been another episode of Techsplanation Airplane Mode. I'm King Friday, and I'll catch you on the next one.